Hello, everybody. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Happy Father's Day to those of you celebrating it today. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today, we've got ourselves some pretty big news. A major trade going down in the NBA. Bradley Beal is being traded, reportedly, to the Phoenix Suns. So, there had been rumors, speculation. People were saying it was down to teams like the Heat, the Bucks, and the Suns. And I was even preparing to make a video, maybe comparing some of those situations. But the Wizards pulled the trigger on a deal, obviously, before uh, really got the chance to make that video. So now we're talking about this instead. The actual deal gets done. Beal goes to Phoenix, and what the Wizards get back in exchange. I hold on, have it on the other screen here, but the Wizards get back Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, multiple, not sure exactly how many, second round picks and pick swaps going their way. So, yeah, Bradley Beal goes to Phoenix. First and foremost, talking about the fit for Beal in Phoenix, it's a little bit awkward, right? And we'll get to that point in a second. We'll address the positives first, which is that team is terrifying, right? You've got Kevin Durant, you've got Devin Booker, you've got Bradley Beal. Those are three absolute elite level offensive talents. The firepower that the Suns now have at their disposal is just stupidly high. But all three players are relatively sort of ball dominant guys, right? They can still obviously make moves and compete and help a team off the ball as well, but it's kind of hard to argue that any of those three guys, Beal, KD, or Booker, don't play better with the ball in their hands. There's also the matter of what are you going to do with Booker and Beal, because they effectively play the same position. They play relatively similar styles as well. They're both shooting guards in that two slot. So you have one of them maybe shift up to the one, right? Maybe Booker at the one, Beal two, Kevin Durant three, or do you shift Kevin Durant down to try and get him to play power forward, then have Booker or Beal at the three, and then the other one at the two? It's a little complicated, right? They're going to find a way to figure it out. Obviously, they will have all three guys on the court at the same time. There's no reason to make this trade if you don't plan on doing that. But the way that it fits, the way that they space the floor a little bit, will be interesting to see. But on that note, it is interesting to note that they kept DeAndre Ayton, right? That's something that's sort of being glossed over a little bit right now just because the focus is on Beal joining the team. But Ayton is still there. There is still going to be a presence down low. Maybe Ayton's not an absolutely dominant big man down in the paint just yet, but he's definitely better than anything else the Suns would have had on the lineup if they had included him in the Beal trade. So that at least takes some of the pressure off. A defense cannot entirely focus on the perimeter, can't entirely focus on taking away shots from Beal, Booker, and Durant, because if you do that, then Ayton's just going to stand 2 feet in front of the basket and just tip the ball in, 15 times a game, and you're still going to lose. So, massive concerns on the defensive end here for the Suns, but at least they go and they get their guy. But now, well, now they've got to fill out the rest of the roster. They have 5 players, including Bradley Beal, currently signed, and you need more than 5 players to play a full game of basketball. Surprise, surprise. So they're going to have to fill out those spots. They're going to have to do it cheaply as well. I believe there was an article or a tweet mentioning they've got $6 million in space before they hit the luxury tax threshold. So they're already way, way over the cap with the lineup that they've got, the 5 players that they have signed right now. And maybe the new owner of the Suns does not care about the luxury tax, right? We saw the Warriors do something similar when they sort of built up their dynastic squad. They spend money, and they said, who cares about the consequences? We'll pay that tax bill when it comes. The Suns may look to do something similar, but if they want to do it cheaply, it's going to have to be real cheap, because you've got to sign somewhere in the realm of 6 to 8 guys with $6 million or go over that luxury threshold. But if you're the Suns, it's a risk you were willing to take, right? You got Bradley Beal. That's the big splash, and they're going to be feeling pretty happy about that. On the other side of things, you take a look at the Wizards, the team that Bradley Beal obviously just left in this trade, and I don't really know how to feel for the Wizards. This trade feels like it's just okay. And I think part of that came from the fact that Beal did not demand to be traded, but it seemed pretty clear that he did want out of Washington. He wanted to go to a better situation. So if you're the Wizards, you get multiple second round picks, you get some pick swaps, which theoretically should be good for them because the Wizards are very likely going to be bad and the Suns are very likely going to be good. So pick swaps can certainly benefit them there. It feels awkward to make a trade that involves you trading away Bradley Beal and not getting a concrete first round pick back, right? Multiple second rounders and pick swaps could get you into that area. You can still find talent in the second round. I mean, we've seen plenty of examples of that, but not getting a first straight up did feel a little bit awkward. And then the players they get back, mixed bag. Landry Shamet, no offense to him, but he is salary filler. He needed to be there to make the salaries match. It's nothing against Landry Shamet personally, but his name was thrown in here because it needed to be, not because either team really wanted him much. Chris Paul, though, is a bit of a big one. Chris Paul is the player that goes to the Washington Wizards, and they might be able to get something out of him. I say might be because it's rough. He's 38 years old. We have seen multiple times over the last couple of seasons he has had some issues with getting hurt, missing some games, things like that, not always being available for the team. But on the Wizards, if he is healthy, I think they might be able to put something together because you look at what else the Wizards have. They didn't give up any of their sort of younger players, guys like Daniel Gafford, guys like Denny Avdia. They're still there. They're still developing. You at least have that. Now you add Chris Paul to the mix. Now you start looking at maybe having Porzingis opt into his player option, which he really should because it's worth $36 million, even if it's only for 1 year. And that's a team that maybe can do something if all goes right. If Kyle Kuzma opts in as well, which might be a little bit more iffy because his player option I think is only worth something in the realm of 13 million and some change, and he could probably get more than that on the open market. But you're looking at either Chris Paul and Kristaps Porzingis plus some young players, or Paul Kuzma and Porzingis plus those same young players. And if all goes right, if Porzingis does well, if he scores the way that he scored last season, if Chris Paul doesn't miss significant time, that is a team that could maybe push for a play-in spot. I don't know. That does still kind of feel like best case scenario. And if your best case scenario is the play-in, you're probably still angling towards some sort of rebuilding or retooling anyway. But it puts them in a similar or maybe slightly better position than where they were last year with Beal and Kuzma and Porzingis, where they missed the play-in entirely. So did it make them significantly better right now? Not really. Did it set them up maybe slightly better for the future? I would say so. And I think that's the best that the Wizards could hope for. We knew that Bradley Beal was not going to get the same haul. He was not going to garner, 4 or 5 first rounders like Kevin Durant did, like Rudy Gobert did. Those trades were not going to actually set the market in the way that people were speculating that they would. At least not for someone like Bradley Beal, who had to waive a no trade clause, right? Who was on this massive, very much unwise contract that the Wizards gave him and then kind of got trapped by. So his scenario was different, even though he is still very much an all-star level player, someone who can definitely do good things for the Suns. The Wizards were not going to get that king's ransom for him that we saw from some of the other players. So with that in mind, they did okay. They did the best that they could. They got something at least, and there is hope for them for the future, even if it's not a whole hell of a lot of hope. So good on both teams. They get the deal done. We don't have to talk about this all summer long. We don't have to talk about this at the draft either, which is still only a couple of days away. So Phoenix gets their guy. The Wizards get the most that they could. Honestly, this is not the trade that I saw happening. I thought that the Miami Heat were probably a better fit for Beal, a better situation for him to go to, and a team that could have offered up more assets in exchange to the Wizards compared to the Suns. But with that no trade clause, Bradley Beal got to pick where he wanted to go. He could veto any other trade. So he wanted to go to Phoenix. Now he goes to Phoenix. Now the Suns have to build a roster around the guys that they have. So we'll be looking at them in this offseason. They're not going to be going and chasing any more big names. They literally don't have the money to do that anymore. But they're going to be looking for those vets. They're going to be looking for those guys that you can get in that like $1 to $2 million range to round out their lineup, try to field something competitive. So changes the trajectory for both of these teams in a way that feels pretty damn interesting. So, uh, there it is. Congratulations to the Suns. They get their guy. We'll see what they do with it. But for now, that is gonna be it. We'll see. I guess what goes down at the draft. I don't think there's anything on the horizon before then. Although I didn't think the Beal trade was gonna go down before the draft either, and now here we are. So we shall see. But for now, that is it. Bradley Beal to the Suns is done and dusted. So let me know what you think. If you think that's a good fit, if you thought he would have done better with one of the other teams in the running, like Miami or Milwaukee, it doesn't matter now because the trades happen, but it's always fun to, talk about what ifs and theoretical stuff like that. But let me know what you think, and thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later.